What's up, everybody? It's your boy King Truth with the King Truth Show. And first, I wanted to welcome everybody out after the new football season started. My team, as you can see in the background, is the Dolphins. We got smoked by the New England Patriots, which ended up seeming to be, it's one game in the books, but Cam Newton did fairly well, controlled the game. He kind of seemed kind of New England-esque. Threw for just as many as he needed to, ran for 2 touchdowns. So New England 1, Tampa Bay Bucks 0, because Tom Brady came out, did not play very well, and seemed to go outside it. Oh, that's going to be annoying if I got the hiccups. Went outside the scale of what he's typically doing in that system, and it didn't work out so well for him. As I was watching the game, one of the things that I wanted to do a video on today was I'm still not sure if everybody understands or has done their research on the Breonna Taylor story, because I constantly see that on the back of people's helmets, and I don't understand it. I think there's an argument that can be made for many of the cases that have came up and been discussed. Ahmaud Arbery is a good case, but that wasn't a police officer that shot him. And I don't mean a good case like a good thing. It's terrible when somebody dies. I'm saying from a case of blaming the racism that is. But the Breonna Taylor one is really burning on me because I constantly see people bring that up. They're like, arrest the murderers of Breonna Taylor. Well, I just don't understand that one. I really don't understand that one because I think people are not following the story. It really doesn't make sense. And I wanted to bring up a couple things that need to be said. And I was reading this article, and I'm going to pull this article up right now. And this is what I wanted to go over today. And I apologize. I'm all over the place right now. I had a big salad for lunch, and I got salad all in my mouth still. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Here we go. So there's an article that came out this morning, and this is NBC News. Article says Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, says he asks himself daily why she was killed. He's had his heart ripped out of his chest on most days, thinks he can't go on. Breonna Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, said of Kenneth Walker, I hate that for him, for all of us. Now look, I have lost people in bad situations before, and I do feel for him, okay? But this article, okay, it says racial reckoning up here, right? Plan to vote 2020. This is not written because they care about Kenneth Walker. Let's just be clear. This is a political hit piece. And even deeper than that, it's a lying piece. And we're going to go through it and how many lies are actually told in it. But let's go over a couple of these things. So it starts by saying Kenneth Walker has had not a restful night since March 13th, the day that the woman he planned to marry, Breonna Taylor. Now, here's the deal, man. Like the news, you see how it says news up here, right? This is supposed to be the news. This isn't supposed to be Paramount Films. This isn't supposed to be 20th Century Fox, with the lion roaring. It's not supposed to be, that's not what this is supposed to be the news, okay? What do you mean the girl he planned to marry, okay? In the Breonna Taylor report, okay, it literally talks about when she is speaking with Antoine or Jamarcus Glover, that she uses terms like "I love you," as she's talking to him. This is in January 2020, okay? January 2020, Jamarcus is saying, I'll come and get me some. Rest in your bed. What, you don't want me in your bed? What'd she say? No, I didn't say that. I just haven't been sleeping right. And then she goes on. He goes, oh, you just checking on me? She's like, yeah. He says, I love you. She says, I love you too. This is in January. I'm sorry, Breonna. If you were planning on, I'm sorry, Kenneth, if you were planning on marrying Breonna Walker, you might have wanted to know that she was in love with someone else. So I'm not bringing that up to be negative. I'm bringing that up because this article is lying, and it starts off lying, and it does that because it really badly wants people to believe that this is like a tragic love story. It says they had planned to purchase a home together and have a baby. And then it gets a little weird. It even says Walker had purchased a pair of Air Jordans. What? This dude has bought a pair of Air Jordans for a baby that doesn't exist while she's in love with another man, and they have no proof of any kind of plans towards anything, children or other. She was planning on having a baby, as she's still, if you go back to when they're talking about these are the phone records from the court, okay, from the police department. Says the one gentleman, Walker, says to Glover that, well, I thought y'all weren't basically messing around together. Says, you need to go ahead and check her phone and make sure that, her number was blocked. It says, well, we actually had a text that day. And the thing is that she did text me that day. So literally, Breonna Taylor texted Glover that day and asked me when the stuff is coming in. Then I'm sending everything to her. We on good terms. She makes sure she gets her stuff. What do you think that means? That means her cut, okay? So this is them talking about it. This is after Breonna Taylor's been shot dead, and this is talking about the day before she got shot dead. Day before she talked that people talk about being EMT. She wasn't allowed to be an EMT since the first part of the report. Since in 2016, the homicide unit noticed that she was the one that rented a car where they found a victim, Fernandez Bowman, dead. Okay, it was her car registered in her name to her address that she had rented, not registered, rented in her name. And so, again, I'm not saying she's the worst person ever. I'm sure she didn't know that this guy was going to get murdered in her car. I hope she didn't. But is it possible that she did? It is. And so she rented a car out. They leave the car with a dead body in it. That's how it got connected to her. She got fired from being an EMT, was not allowed to do that. This is 4 years later that this situation pops up, okay? And so she's been doing these things with this guy for a long period of time. This is not, some mistaken identity. So the reason why I bring this up is, let's go back here. We have this, now those plans are destroyed. They're destroyed because if they had those plans, that there's no evidence that she had, those plans were destroyed by her choices. Imagine how it feels to be in a situation like this. Like they were both there. One of the attorneys representing. Why is an attorney helping you to write the article? Isn't it an attorney's job to put the best front on for somebody, even if it's dishonest? Right? That's the running joke for the O.J. Simpson trial. The glove does not fit. You must acquit. Okay? These are important factors. I'm baffled by the fact that we are acting so stupid when it comes to this. Okay? She was not killed by police. She did die because of fire by the police, but she was not murdered. Okay? As you go down, it says he asks himself daily why he's alive. Okay, well, again, if you go back to the reports, in this report, they talk about what happened. This is what happens. The guy says that he shoots back at the police. They shoot back. Bree in the hallway, and she gets killed. Dominique Crenshaw then gets off the phone. So there, Jamarcus Glover is saying exactly what happened based on what this guy had told him in jail. And actually, if you go later on in the report, you can actually read where Jamarcus is saying, here we go, let's read this right here. Okay? This is this is one of the other guys that's in the gang, basically, Mr. Lee, telling an unknown female that I'm a co-defendant because some N-word, Kenneth Walker, killed a MFer. Well, he didn't just kill the MFer. He shot at the police, and the police shot back and killed his girlfriend, Breonna Taylor, whatever. Shot her 7 times. He got brain matter all over his GD shirt when he came in here last night. So this is him talking about, this is one of the guys that's in the jail that had been arrested, that was in the same jail cell as Kenneth Walker. And even this guy says that it was, this guy, Mr. Lee, says Kenneth Walker was the one that got her killed. And if you go back further in it, you'll see Jamarcus says that Kenneth Walker got her killed. Now, I don't think that, right? I actually think it's Jamarcus Glover that got her killed, and her own choices that got her killed. In another part of this article, it talks about how the Kenneth had kind of shot a couple times, and then he pulled back behind this. So we'll go ahead and read this. This is the jail phone calls. The day after, let me see, I believe it's, no, this is when, so this is again in January, where Glover is actually talking to Breonna Taylor and getting all the information about where the drug's at and everything like that. And again, this is all the police reporting. Here you go. So this is when, so in February, she was going to Jamarcus's house. Here are the pictures from it. They saw her going to his house, bringing boxes to and from his house. This is in February. So March 3rd, okay, and this is important, okay? So on March 13th, not 3rd, March 13th, it says, when a search warrant was executed at 3003 Springfield Drive. Let me see if I can make this even bigger for you guys, if people want to check this out. Nope, that did not work. It stays the same size. Okay, that's fine. It says, so when the search warrant was executed, which Breonna Taylor was listed on, okay, we'll get back to the article that says that her name wasn't on anything. Okay, an officer-involved shooting occurred, and as a result, Breonna Taylor was killed. Present inside the time of the apartment, the search warrant was executed. Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker there. The PIU responded to the scene and took over the investigation. Now, that's important because later on in this report, Kenneth Walker actually says the same thing. People had asked Kenny Walker, they asked him, hey, what happened there? And Kenneth Walker basically says, hey, look, they didn't find anything. And the reason they didn't find anything was because right when they shot her, they just kind of stopped and paused and took care of everything with the case, as opposed to continuing to look for the money, because he even says they didn't find the money. Not that there was no money. So let me see if it talks about it. See if I can find it real quick, but we'll come back to that. It says all that goes down. He's arrested. He didn't get to go to her funeral. I do think it's a shame that Kenneth Walker's stuff didn't get worked out quicker. He did shoot at the police. Now I understand where he's coming from, where at the end of the day, you do have a right to protect your home. And he even says actually in the reports, and I can find it when we get to where Kenneth spoke, but he had thought that it was those guys. Okay, he thought it was her boyfriend and those guys coming in the door to rob them. So that's why he shot. So he shot thinking it was them without knowing it was them. The police shot back because he shot them. So both of them had shot at people that they didn't know what they were doing. Then once I'm sure they came in and stated who they were was the time that Kenneth Walker did not continue to fire. Okay. And it says the moment that changed her life forever. In March, when Louisville police raided her apartments for drugs and for cash with an investigation involving her ex-boyfriend. No. I mean, yes, but no. And this is what these kind of news reports do that are so dishonest. What they're trying to do is make it seem like it was an investigation just about her ex-boyfriend and not her. But it was her, because that was, if you want to call him an ex-boyfriend, he was still someone that was saying, I love you back and forth. He had her apartment listed as his address, used to receive packages. No drugs or money were recovered during the raid. While that's true, once they shot Breonna Taylor, they immediately rendered aid. And so they did not continue to follow up with that. They did not look for the money, but there was money there, according to the phone records from jail. The police have said the officers fired inside only after they were fired upon. Well, that's what all the data says as well. Says in the middle of the night that somebody's beating on your door and, you're at home with your family, you don't know who it is. Well, okay, I agree with that, but you did shoot through the door before realizing who it was, which that's fine. You are allowed to protect your home, but my point is that you shot without knowing. The police returned fire, only knowing that they had fired upon, and that is how Breonna Taylor died. Then he was held on cash bond. It says that the authorities said they tried to keep Walker in jail on a high bond to have leverage over him. No, they had a high bond because initially their argument was that he shot a police officer in an attempt to kill him. That's why they tried to keep the bond high. Then when they found out, his argument that he made, they let him go. And it says the charges brought against me were meant to silence me and cover up Breonna's murder. How? How would that silence him? It obviously didn't silence him. He's doing a report right now. For those that I love, I can no longer remain silent. Remain silent? No, you're trying to get a piece of the money. That's what I really think. And I feel bad for Kenneth Walker because I think he may have been in love with her, but she was not in love with him. And it says that now they're trying to make the argument that, now look, it says the one detective shot blindly into the apartment was fired in June, as he should be. You should not be firing blindly in there. And so, even if he didn't shoot anybody with it, Breonna Taylor was not shot by the person shooting blindly into the apartment. Just so everybody understands that. But it is a tragedy. Breonna Taylor's death is a tragedy. But it has nothing to do with her race. It has nothing to do with somebody just, with the police department killing her. I mean, that's just ludicrous. That's never going to fly. Everybody that's being real about this knows. And I would encourage people to go to TatumReport.com, read this. This is literally from, it says here at the end, this is from Detective Kelly Goodlett, okay? And this is from the Springfield Drive, Louisville, Kentucky. This is a police report that has all these different pieces of information in it. And the more you read it, the truth is she was clearly in a drug dealing ring. And it's sad, but true. And she got killed because when they raided her house, somebody shot. Now, here's the thing that baffles me about this the most. We have people out there very happy that there's no longer no-knock warrants. Now, I'm not a fan of no-knock warrants. I'm not even a fan of knock warrants where you can come into somebody's house. They should be used extremely sparingly, okay? Or if at all. If somebody wants to stay in their house the rest of their life, that's a jail sentence, okay? But I could have that discussion on a later date. I don't know that I've came to a conclusion on that. But what I can tell you is that the no-knock warrant is much more likely to have caused his death. If you listen to in the article or in the report, it all says pretty much the same thing. It says that what happened that night was the police came banging on the door. And then as they were banging on the door, Breonna Taylor starts coming down the hallway towards the door. They end up opening the door. The minute they open the door is when Kenneth reaches around, shoots a shot through the door. Okay, hits the cop in the leg. So at that point, they return fire. Breonna's a sitting duck stuck in the hallway. That's what everything in this report says. It says it multiple times. And so, as bad as that is, okay, and unfortunate as that a situation is, that's not the police's fault. It's just not. The police should be held responsible for everything that they did wrong in this case, which was the one guy shooting through, a window or something and shooting into an empty bathroom a bunch of times. That's just nonsense. People like that should be fired. And maybe you should get charged with something, because you certainly can't just fire blindly. Okay, but the person that shot her dead because of the situation that she put herself in that was really not smart. Here's your Kenneth Walker call, okay? Right here, okay? So someone was trying to invade y'all. That's what I thought. You feel me? That's what Kenneth Walker said. Why would they do that shit at that time? That's the time Roberts is out. Which I get. That's actually a good point. Okay, the person that Kenneth Walker's to is, why are you doing a knocking warrant and busting in a door the time that Roberts are out? That's going to get people shot and killed. If they hadn't knocked, the odds of Kenny Walker getting to his gun, depending on where it was, is lower. There's no doubt. The odds of her being shot and killed in a no-knock warrant was actually way lower than it would have been if they had knocked. It's one of the reasons they do a no-knock warrant, because it actually makes more sense to do it that way. It causes less deaths. It also has people, catches them off balance. You kind of discombobulated for a second, and by then you're already under arrest. That's exactly what happened at the other home where all these guys were arrested, okay? Kenneth Walker says, the guy tells Kenneth, your name wasn't even on the search warrant or nothing. He said, look, dude's spot. It's dude's spot. The N-word chop. That's what he called Jamarcus Glover. It got him at the same time. She's effing with that N-word. That's crazy. And you, the innocent bystander and all this. I caught it, bro. I called that shit out. So this certainly sounds like Kenneth Walker wasn't doing those things. And his friend is telling him, dude, I told you not to mess with that situation. That gangster-ass dude and his girlfriend were bad news. Kenneth Walker says, I did too. Like, yes, I knew as well, but I was already knowing all that, though. So he just was willing to accept it, okay? What's also crazy in here is that there's a point where one of the drug dealers, his mother, here it is again, talking about shooting Walker. This is one of the guys in the jail, and it says basically that they were, what they charge y'all with? And this guy Bowman, his mother is calling the place the candy store, okay? And then it was talking about, the boyfriend Kenneth Walker. It says, yeah, that other guy was her boyfriend too, meaning she had two boyfriends. And then they were like, Bowman, the drug dealer, says to his mom, F you mean? That money's in her name. Everything's in her name right now. It's over. We fought up for real. They killed Breonna. Listen to what he says there. He doesn't say we're mad because they killed Breonna. Like, this is so sad. That girl meant the world to me. It's because all the money from the drugs was in her name. Then he tells his mom, you got to lock up my phone so people can't get my information. Get on my Gmail and do it. So this is the drug guy talking to his mother, trying to get her to help. Okay? What's interesting is his mom's clearly in on it, because his mom at one point says, here you go. This guy, Bowman's mom, tells this girl, hey, get on three-way call and call Thug. Let me tell you this. Why ain't nobody at the spot? That's the place where the drugs are at. Thug says to the mom, I really don't know. D. Bowman's mother said, it don't stop. Thug says, you got to be careful. Make sure he ain't still on the phone, because he knew that this was being recorded. So the stupid mother is sitting there saying that this does not stop. She says, yeah, baby, I got you. I'm talking in code, baby. I'm calling you on my phone. Hang up. What do you think they talked about at that point? This is sad. This is sad that Breonna Taylor decided she wanted to get involved with this lifestyle. That's sad. Cops did not kill Breonna Taylor. In my opinion, for the most part, I think Jamarcus, certainly played the largest part in her death. Jamarcus Glover. I mean, he's the one that was doing all of this stuff. He was the one that him and this whole crew, this whole gang, whatever you want to call it, this whole drug dealing crew, Jamarcus Glover, Demarius Bowman, Rashawn Lee, Alicia Jones, all these people were involved. They're all drug dealers. Breonna Taylor too. It's unfortunate but true. Breonna Taylor was a drug dealer. She may not have been the one that was handing out the bags, but neither were most of these guys. Okay, that's the sad part. She wanted to be the accountant of the drug game. She wanted to keep half her foot in. And it's sad because when you listen to his girlfriend, there's times where I feel like she just wanted to get out of it. I really do. It's kind of crazy. You can read Breonna Taylor's, messages. But Breonna Taylor, as of January 3rd, he was calling her, hey, you got Adrian Walker on Facebook. Where the F Doug at? He got my money riding around in my car, and he ain't even where he's supposed to be at. So he's over here talking about, what's going on, where he can get the money, giving it to Breonna Taylor. She makes sure he knows who it is. He says, at one point they're talking later on, he's trying to get her to post bail. She's trying to post bail. She's telling him she loves him while she posts bail. It's sad. She was in love with a gangster. She wanted to be in love with a gangster, and that's the life that she chose to live. And it sucks. I mean, that she's going to die. I mean, at one part she tells Glover, this is huge. Just listen to this. This is sad. When you're around, I stress more, she said, because I always wanted to be with you. Not like with you and B word like women, but just period, with the police, like all that kind of stuff. Jamarcus Glover says, I love you. She says, I love you too. I believe they talk again. No, that was the only jail calls from that. Then, it's Jamarcus Glover talking to his baby's mama, who he also tells, I love you and stuff. And they start talking in code. You'll see this at one point. Kira says, man, they know where you live at. He's like, yeah, they been knowing where we live at. She's like, that's what they found out. They got an investigation on this MF, or they're going to find out everything. He says, at the end of the day, it's all BS. It's some sugar for some spaghetti we ate, which is probably some cocaine for some spaghetti we ate, probably from some dope that they sold or something that fell off this. I don't know. I'm sure that the police know what that code is for. But it's crazy. I mean, the bank statements, they got her name on it. And then his girl, I mean, half the discussions are Glover talking to his girl. And it's like, here we go. Here you go. So this is Glover talking to his baby's mama. Okay. I'm hurt. My name is getting called about Bree's death. First of all, nobody blamed him for Bree's death. I never heard that. I mean, maybe around their block, but I would have said he's responsible for her death. He says this N-word Kenneth Walker in jail. This N-word got Bree dead. So Glover blames Kenneth Walker. Later on, Kenneth Walker ends up blaming Glover. And then now Kenneth Walker's, 3 months later, is going to blame the police. Says it's his fault. That's the reason it happened. This guy's sitting right here. And then it's like, okay, did y'all talk, or is he still on some defensive stuff? He said they were beating on the door. So this is his girlfriend. I mean, the baby mama saying to him again, yeah, so I would shoot too. Like, I got a gun up under my bed. If someone comes to my house at midnight, I would shoot too. I got to protect my kids. And then she tells him, you got to stop moving so messy. You're the one that they wanted to get. right? Because Glover's the one that they wanted. He is the drug dealer. And again, his relationship with Kira Bradley the whole time says they searched that Crown Vic. You had 20,000 in that Crown Vic. He's like, man, nah, I ain't been in the Crown Vic. She's like, that's where you were hiding the money at. He said, I was in a house. They found that thing outside. So they had hid the money around the house. And then basically, as you read this, the main drug dealers start trying to find out where the money is. And some of the money was hidden, but most of the money was in Breonna Taylor's account. So that's where they just get stuck. And it says her mama, Breonna Taylor, and the No Limit crew, they basically like that dude that she's messing with and got her all caught up. The No Limit, they don't play. So Kira is saying, everybody's calling because they're saying your baby mama got killed. So this girl's hearing that she's the one that died, and she's telling him, no, it's not, that Breonna Taylor's mother, I guess, rolls with a crew called the No Limit crew. And so they're blaming it on Jamarcus Glover, saying they're going to come after him. And he says, man, I don't care. She's like, I know you don't care. You don't care about anything. He says, putting it on me, and I know that they must have found the mail and stuff. Me and Bree ain't been around each other for 2 months. Now, obviously, he's lying because we have the other reports where he is, but that's what he's telling his baby mama. It's just sad. This over and over. Kenneth Walker said, these motherfuckers busted down the door and didn't know who he was. They asked who it is, but nobody say nothing. He said they kicked in the door and he bucked on them. He said they started shooting back, and Breonna was in the hallway and caught all the bullets. Scott, his attorney, Glover's attorney, knew Bree. He knew her, but he was dealing with me and Bree the whole time I've been going through this. I mean, he says, where's the money at? Bree had like $8,000. Bree had $8,000 of your money? He's like, yes. So, and he later on, he says it's more like 20 grand. He's not telling his baby mama all the truth. But this is important for people to recognize, okay? I'm not trying to burn Breonna Taylor's name. We all make mistakes, okay? And I'm not saying that Breonna Taylor deserved to die because she was helping people sell drugs. I'm just saying that these things happen when you put yourself in these bad situations. I look at it from her standpoint. I look at it from Kenneth Walker's standpoint. I look at it from the police officer's standpoint. And unfortunately, this is a tragedy. But the police did not murder her, okay? They are not her killers, okay? You can make the argument that the police killed her by shooting her dead, but they are not her killers. Her killers were her decision-making and this gang that she was rolling with. That's the truth. And whenever somebody, if you're going to bring up Breonna Taylor in racial justice, it's like, this didn't have anything to do with racism. Nothing. She's not dead because of anything racist. She's not. And so when you say that to someone that's educated and that has read the whole report, if you guys go and read the report and you still feel like it's racist, then make your argument. I can't be mad at that. But it just doesn't make sense, and it's not the reality. And something else I wanted to point on here in the last 5 minutes of my closing. We are not in the same spot we were 100 years ago. And I understand that people look at me, or even 50 years ago, okay? I understand that I'm not black, so there's not certain things that I understand that I don't know. So I do listen. Now, that doesn't mean that I believe everything that I hear, but I do listen to try to understand. And I understand this. There's many cases, if you go back in the day, and you guys can Google this, you can go ahead and look up. And what you'll find is that back in the day, in this country was a racist cesspool of people that didn't understand, people that they didn't let themselves be around, that unfortunately there were situations where black people actually had to dress white, act white. And when I say act white, I mean literally act white. I mean like powder their face, try to make themselves look and sound white so that people would not know if they were black. They might have thought, well, maybe, but no, this person's just a little bit different white guy. And they used to do that. And they did that because black people were terribly mistreated in this country, terribly. And that should be remembered. Now, at the same time, that day is not today. And that day is not yesterday or the day before that. And you think about it right now. And I remember there was a video of this. So you may find this on YouTube somewhere. But there was a video that was talking about race. And this was back in, I want to say, the 50s or 60s. And the person was saying, hey, it's racism's over. And the person says, this is after the civil rights, maybe 70s. And the person says, would you switch places with a black person? And the crowd hushed. And it was pretty clear at that point that while you can feel like you're equal, nobody would switch spaces with you. Well, that day is not today, because most lower to middle income white people would not mind switching places with a black person. And I can actually prove it. I can't prove that the numbers the most, but I can tell you this. Shaun King is a big part of Black Lives Matter. He's white and he acts like he's black, and not acts like he's black, like he tries to convince people that he's black. And then when he got caught, instead of admitting it, he doubled down on the fact that he didn't know who his dad was and tried to claim that, well, his dad was probably part black, with no evidence. And actually, there's evidence to the contrary. But he played the part like he was a black male. If we were in the same racist society we were 50 years ago, you would never do that. And then Rachel Dolezal, the same thing. Rachel Dolezal was in the NAACP leadership. And she's make-believing that she's black. She's not black. And then you can look at Jessica Krug. Okay, I think her real last name is Bombro or something. She just came out the other day and admitted it, finally. She was a professor of African studies. She was white, acting like she was black. She put darkener on her skin. She messed with her hair. These are the things that she did to try to show that she was black. Now, why would somebody in a racist America want to be on the side of the criticism? They don't. And I can actually prove it one step farther. Look at anyone who's mixed out there. You tell me the last mixed person who identified as white, or like that would even be a thing. Like that would even be acceptable. And don't bring up back in the 1700s or something that if you had a little bit of black in you, you were black in you. That's racist. They should have never done that. But we're talking about today. Today, every mixed person I know considers himself black. Every single one. I've never had one refer to themselves as white, ever, in my entire life. And I know lots of people and lots of mixed children. And that's fine. That's fine. You can be black, you can be white. I'm just saying that the choice to identify at a point when you do have both parents, you're choosing that because people actually love that culture. They might not, part of the problem is they love it because there's an urban edge to it. When I was growing up, there was something about like in the Tupac Shakur, the Biggie, the growing up poor, it made you feel like, you could be, if you didn't have money, at least you could be tough. And at least you had pride. At least you had, toughness. These different things that, you didn't have money, but you had that. You had your name, you had your reputation. And then we would rag on the people who were rich because they would treat us bad. And then we would just get defensive and kind of own it, and there was that culture is what ends up holding people down, unfortunately. And that's the thing that gets brought up, and we want to ignore it. And then we want to claim racism. Now, does racism exist? Yes. So please don't come on here telling me racism exists. I know that hate and bigotry will be around forever, but it's typically not the cause of things. At this point, racism, there are far more people scared to be white. There are far more people that do not like the color of their skin as being white. There's far more people that do not, because we don't have a culture, so they don't want to accept the culture that they have. They feel bad about their privilege. They want to lump themselves in with a victimhood. And most of these people that I know that are buying into this are white people with money and black people with money. And then they're trying to own a cause because they feel this kind of guilt about not growing up in the culture that they wish that it was. Because just as much as I came from a culture of lower class, tough, survival, the people that didn't feel guilt about that. And so they want to blame it on the white color of the skin, so they can try to group up with the people who grew up lower middle income Black. And then they can go, hey, we have this in common. This is why we should go attack these people. It is a terrible narrative. It's not good for anybody. The truth is, we should come together by having solutions that are certainly out there. There's certainly things that could be done better. We have to be able to look at things and say, hey, if percentage-wise it is not good, there's way more Black people dealing with this systematic issue than white people. We have to look at it. But with a fine-tuned comb, we have to comb through it and figure out the reasons and address those reasons. If the reason is racism, then the conversation's over. It doesn't go anywhere. Nothing gets fixed that way. And so that's a cop-out. And that's why I think a lot of those people want you to go at racism, is because there's no answer to racism. There's not, except for when somebody disagrees with you, you can just call them a racist. Oh, the reason people booed in the NFL was because some people don't want to see people together with other people. That's what their answer was. What? It's not it. It's because people disagree with your narrative and they just want to watch football. They don't want to lose the make-believe guy they have in their mind that is the Superman Cam Newton. They don't want to know that he believes that Breonna Taylor was murdered by police officers, because they go, that was just stupid. All the evidence says that's not true. So when you say that, now all of a sudden I'm looking at you like, okay, you're a great football player, but you're an idiot. Okay? And you're saying it's based on race, and there's zero evidence of that. So now I feel like, man, this guy's always looking through the scope of race. So he's probably got some angst against me. He's racist, hateful, and stupid, but he's a great football player. And I'm not saying Cam Newton, I'm just using an example. But in my mind, Cam Newton's Superman, or whoever the athlete is. And I don't even know Cam Newton's beliefs. I don't want to say that way. I'm just merely trying to say that this person who, from an athletic standpoint, I am enamored by, I'm not enamored by their personalities. I don't care who they're married to. I don't care. I care about how well they perform on the field. That's what I want to watch. So I'm going to boo whatever political opinions that I don't agree with are shouted at the football games. Now, if you shout the ones I agree with, of course I'm going to go, yeah, good for you. I still don't think it should be there. But I'm not going to boo an opinion I agree with. No one does that. No one. But when you disagree with it, of course you're going to boo. But it's not disagreeing with stopping racism. I'm sorry, but the vast majority of people are just not racist. They don't. And the vast majority of people who focus on skin tone are not white people. It's just not based on anything that I've seen in my entire life. I know it's anecdotal, but I've seen a lot of people, white, Black, Hispanic, Indian. It doesn't matter. Like, love is got to come from the inside. And so I'm going to close this up. I went a lot longer than I thought I would. I hope people do the research so that they can at least pick out cases that are applicable, more like Ahmaud Arbery, as opposed to Breonna Taylor. And so my hope is that people can start combing through this. You don't have to be on the right. You don't have to be on the left. Think about it, but the truth does matter. And this is King Truth, and I'm out. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. If you get a second, leave some comments. I'll get back to you. Appreciate it. Love. Have a good day.